Three, two, one. Welcome to the SaaS Pulse Show. My name is Michael Bertoni, and I'm the founder and CEO of SaaS Talent. And I am unbelievably excited today. I'm always very excited when I talk with an amazing SaaS founder, but we have a SaaS founder here in Felicite Moorman, who has two exits. She's from the Philadelphia area, right? You say you can't get exits in the Philadelphia area. She's got two exits, right, with BuLogics and STRATIS IT, right? She's an attorney, not practicing, you said, but attorney still present.
Hold it against me. Mostly recovered.
And now she's building a super app, right? She's building a super app at BOSS.Tech. So it is awesome to have you on the show, Felicity.
Michael, thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here. I will share that this is our first public conversation about BOSS.Tech.
Really?
Yes. So I was super excited when I got the invite. I was like, yeah, that's right. That's well timed. The universe conspires to assist us, and here we are.
We are making news. We are breaking news here, right? This is
literally
amazing. So you've been one year, 2 months. That's what it shows on LinkedIn for BOSS.Tech. So wow, first public, love it. But let's jump right into it, Felicity. So the first thing I love to talk about is the superhero backstory. So you know, the backstory, the background, and your background, oh my gosh, you could probably do a whole podcast on the background.
It's wild and varied.
Right. But what can you share about your background and journey that led you to BOSS.Tech?
Yeah, lifelong entrepreneur. So started farming out friends when I was 12 years old for landscaping that I didn't want to do. So I do the marketing all week, and I'd have my weekends while they did all the landscaping and give me $1 an hour for whatever job they were doing.
I love that.
So that was kind of the origin of me understanding destiny from the viewpoint of an entrepreneur. What you put into it is very often what you get out of it. And that was exceptionally satisfying to me. I've had one job. It didn't go well. I was briefly employed after our last acquisition. Very challenging for me. I really love about entrepreneurship that you're in control of a lot. No one's in control of everything, but I need that belief that what I'm putting into something, I'm going to see as a return. And so it hit me really early, 12 years old, I had the bug. So ran a marketing company for a lot of years, grew very quickly, and then began working a little bit in politics. And my first campaign management, right? I have a passion for strong women. Political women are a unique animal. And so, we had a successful campaign, a freshman campaign for a woman out in Maryland. And she said, what are you doing with the next 3 years of your life? And I said, well, I'm going to keep working in my marketing company. She's like, I think you could do that while you go to law school.
Right. Wow.
I was like, that's ridiculous. Law school's a whole thing. And she's like, no, I think you could do it for real.
Yeah.
Like you might have to take it down a notch maybe, but go for it. Well, but then surprise, I got married, bought a house, had a baby all during the first year. So it became a much greater endeavor than I intended, but it was exceptional. And I will say, I highly recommend garnering the knowledge that lawyers have as an entrepreneur.
Amazing.
It's just exceptionally valuable information to have. And also to enable your communications with your legal team. I can't do our legal work anymore. It's surpassed any practice or practical capability that I have this long end. So then I carried that into real estate actually, and ran a conglomerate of 12 companies in the real estate space until, and not like sell a house, but like a brokerage, legal services, financial, insurance. But 2008 was not kind. There was no, it was the too big to fail era. And frankly, I just was not too big.
Right.
And it was, I was so grateful during COVID when the government realized that there was going to be this impact similar to 2008, which put us into a global economic recession. It wasn't, oh, the real estate industry suffered. It wasn't like the savings and loan from the 80s. It was full-on global economic collapse. And I was very impressed with the pace at which government tried to deliver some capability for especially small to mid-sized business to move on. Of course, giant companies had opportunity to engage as well, but that's when I got into technology. And
Amazing.
I had to take 3 jobs to do it. Those are the jobs I referenced earlier. Like I literally took on 3 full-time jobs at one salary at one place just to break out of lawyer mode and into technology, because nobody wants to hire a lawyer to not do legal.
Right.
But that changed my life. When you have a really hard moment in life, the collapse of an conglomerate is brutal, but it's a great time if you can just get out of your ego and the pain and the financial challenges for a moment to stop and say, what do I love? Like, what do I really love? Because I love knowing about the law, but I do not love pushing paper. I was a rainmaker. So all the attorneys that I worked with would do the work and I would go get the clients. That's what I loved. I loved the people
Imagine
part.
that. Imagine that.
I know it's shocking. But I like, what do I like? I like fast cars and I like technology. That the iPod changed my life.
Okay.
Like the ability to carry 10,000 songs in my pocket, like everybody expects that now. But the moment that it happened, I'm telling you, Mike, I was burning. I would take one song, rip one song from my CD, put them on my very carefully, right? So precious, this one song and this one song. And then every single song that I'd say, oh my gosh, that's my favorite song. Of course, it's your favorite song. You put them on the iPod.
Yeah.
And so, but it changed my life and it changed my understanding of what the world was moving towards. And I loved that. So I joined the GE licensee for emerging technologies for GE. And again, my job was threefold. I had to parse Sarbanes-Oxley, which is fun for no one. And so just some legislative analysis. Okay, that's fine. That was lawyer work. I could do that. I created in a matter of, I think, 2 weeks, a full 12-month education program for an international sales team on all of the new SKUs coming out the next year. And then the third thing, and the way that I got into the industry and met my co-founder, Ryan Buchert, was do a business analysis on which of the radio frequency technologies was going to impact the future. So we all know Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. Those are relatively straightforward and ubiquitous. Yeah. But in the building automation space, we also have Z-Wave and Zigbee and LoRa and a host of others. And I immediately fell in love with this technology. Yeah. And all of the nuance and all of the players and all of the everything about it. And within 2 weeks of that, so now I'm all of 4 weeks into my job, by the way. Within 2 weeks of that, I'm knocking on the CTO of Comcast door and challenging him as to why he's choosing one technology over another when my analysis looked very different. Yeah. And so it was incredible. It was the launch of a love of software-enabled Internet of Things devices and the platforms that can support cross-protocol. So isn't it great if on your phone, Bluetooth and Wi-Fi work together fine? That wasn't the case in home automation. And that's what I was looking for. Like, how can we create this? It just works in building automation and home automation. And how do we get rid of these siloed systems? And that was successful, but segue that right to what we're doing today at BOSS.Tech. We are doing at BOSS.Tech exactly what we did for the last over a decade, which is taking these things that don't work together, siloed data, siloed software instead of devices. By the way, thank God, hardware is hard.
Hardware is hard. Absolutely.
Don't let anyone tell, I mean, brutal. And supply chain issues during COVID, love to all of our hardware people, love them. But now we're just taking those siloed platforms of software, putting them on a super app, synchronizing the data, normalizing the data, and delivering the data back to the entrepreneur so that it's accessible for the first time, maybe ever, not by a $20,000 a month consultant coming in and playing in your systems all day long, which, by the way, never worked for us. We tried desperately at STRATIS. We hired the consultants for the software platforms we all know about and asked them, we need to normalize this data. We can't get so much information that we know is available, but it's distributed. And the estimate is that there are 2,000 data silos in a mid-sized company.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
That's chaos. That's chaos. So we're trying to rein in the chaos at BOSS.Tech. We're trying to do it mobile first. That's our goal in creating a super app, because we believe that maybe even the smartphone is not here for ever, and maybe not much longer with what we're seeing in the changes to technology today.
Totally.
It could be fast. Oh, I watched a review of that AI pen last night. I think I'm going to wait till next gen.
Yeah. So first off, Felicity there's some type of fountain of youth here going, as you know. So Felicity, as she was talking, right, she got up to BuLogics, and then she went through BuLogics, which was 8.10 years, then STRATIS, which was also another 9 years. And then she jumped right into BOSS.Tech. So there's some type of fountain of youth thing here happening, Felicity. So first off, she's got that going, right? I just turned 50. So
Same.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So
Happy
I knew
birthday
I had a feeling. I'm like, geez, like
do the math. It's
what's
there.
happening here? I'm like, how is Felicity like, you look at her, she looks like she's 40, or I don't want to even say younger, but
Yeah, that's good. I'll take it.
yeah. So no, absolutely.
I don't know. I really think that working on teams that you create yourself, and you'll appreciate this, when you put together a team and you're really conscious about the culture and about complementary skill sets that you hire to yourself, it's a huge stress reduction in very stressful spaces.
Yeah.
And so culture is my first focus, and it wasn't always. This is a learned life lesson that culture first makes your life easier as an entrepreneur. And so it's very energizing to come and spend time with my team.
Yeah, there's a founder that I work with that I'll introduce you to. His name's Brian Glick from Chain. He basically is like, I got to work with people that I like to work with. Like, that's like the most important thing. Like, if I come to work and I'm happy to work with the people, that's if I'm not, then what am I doing?
Yeah.
Right. So I'll introduce you to him. He's a great founder. But let's jump into BOSS.Tech. I love the website address. So let's jump into BOSS.Tech. Let me understand, what's the elevator pitch, right? So what is the elevator pitch? What's the value proposition?
It's a business operating system super app. And our goal, our intention is to empower entrepreneurs to achieve AI-enabled, because we all have to, and I'll share a little bit more on that, data-driven success in their business. If you want to take it way simpler, easier business. Just access to your metrics, access to what's important, and automation of all of those things that make business hard for artists. And when I say artists, I don't mean painters. I mean, all of us have a talent, and many of us, would turn that talent into a business if only the business part of it didn't get in the way. So, our goal
I was going to say, if you haven't heard SuperApp, right, I have a feeling if you're going to start hearing about it more, right? So all the big companies are going to be trying to figure out how to get you into a super app. I know I've already heard about that, Elon Musk, with Twitter, you have people in Asia. So tell me, let's get into the guts a little bit. Let's get a little nerdy. What is the super app? Like, what is inside? I'm an entrepreneur, right? There's tons of entrepreneurs listening to this. What's inside the super app? Like, how is it helping us?
Think about all the functionality of your business that's not your art. So my expectation for you, Michael, is that your art is to, much like I did, rainmake in legal, your job is to go and be a hub of community. That's your art. Your art is not sitting down to QuickBooks, or maybe you have a ticket system to make sure that everything's being managed. It's not scheduling. It's going out and being around people. It's not sitting in front of your computer almost ever, probably.
Right.
And so when you have the disparate siloed software platforms that we all use in our business, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with those platforms, and we enable your finance platforms, your social platforms, your communications platforms, your ticketing platforms. If you have to use it in your business, general business. So we're getting specialized, but this is not that. This is general business operations, everything that you do, all of your communications in one place so that you're not SaaS swapping all day long from QuickBooks to Salesforce to Zendesk and then back again, in one place with automation and, again, data synchronization. We had clients that had different names because different owners of that platform were doing the input. There was no normalization of our data. So we're solving a very personal pain. At 100 people at Stratis, we had over 100 software platforms.
Amazing.
It gets worse. 30% were superfluous. They were either not in use and being paid, or they duplicated what another platform was doing by another part of the organization. Very time consuming. And then when you have that disconnect of data, it is very hard to go and do accounts receivable well. And we had outstanding dollars because of the discrepancies in the data that took us years to get. Startups cannot afford that. Our AR almost killed us. And God forbid you lose your accountant, or you lose your customer success manager. You lose somebody who is in control of these platforms, and you can lose your company if the key person take the knowledge base of that operating system. So an operating system SaaS platform in that case, but this is an operating system in the truest sense of the word. Much like your iPhone or your Android has an operating system that we don't see. And this is where I think a lot about our story. You will engage with the BOSS.Tech app, but you won't see the magic if we do it right.
Sure.
You won't see us like, oh, is this data right? No, we're using AI inside of the app to make sure that we're normalizing data. And if we have to ask you a question, that's something we're going to fix. That's something that we have to work on. So I am sometimes concerned that things that maybe seem too simple, sometimes the value proposition story can get lost. And oh, well, that's easy. So we're focused on PLG, so product-led growth, so that value proposition is delivered on use case one.
Right.
Because the story is important. And it's not going to be easy to explain operating systems to sometimes technically challenged entrepreneurs. Like, the reason they're looking for a solution for all of the chaos that's in the data marketplace today, and I think they don't even know what they're looking for. So there's going to be an education component to this, and that storytelling is going to be important. And I want to do it without complicating the story. The complexity needs to stay in the back end of the app.
Yeah, you got to make it simple. I mean, I think I'm actually starting to connect the dots a little bit, and I want to understand the how, because you're seeing a lot of different apps that are connecting me. Like, I currently use, say, 20 SaaS products.
Yep.
Myself, and I'm a small company. I have 25 employees.
Great.
So are you connecting, like, is step one, you have QuickBooks. Okay, let's connect to it, because I worked at this company called Apogee.
Yeah.
Where everything was API led. Everything was API. Like, so every software company that you're working with has an API and you could connect to it, right? So is that step one, like connect? Yeah.
So that publicly available API, that's a standard that's only come to fruition largely in the last decade, even less.
Sure, definitely.
So I remember when we were trying to connect hardware, obviously, so a different animal than software, but we had to go get permissions and licenses and have years-long legal conversations about connecting APIs of hardware to our software. With SaaS, they're largely publicly available for the most forward-thinking software companies.
Totally.
So we are doing that work, and you basically have your two-factor authentication login that allows us to actually access all of that data and information and then normalize it and synchronize it inside of our app. So what you have in all of these places, you can choose to keep as it is, or you can choose to reverse synchronize and make it look inside of your software normalized as well, which we hope, of course, people will do, but that's going to take a little time and trust building, which is, I mean, this super app, we have WeChat in China. We have 2 additional ones in India. Those are consumer-based super apps.
Mm-hmm.
And China, obviously government, and India, not just government, but also entrepreneurial. But this is, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm a pretty deep researcher, and I use AI every day, then I think that this might be the first super app specifically for business.
Sure. Sure.
And
There are enterprise, right? So there are enterprise apps that have been trying to do it for the enterprise large companies. But if your use case off the bat is, you know, the 90, probably 7% of all companies out there that are 100 and under employees. I mean, so what I'm trying to understand now is I get it a little bit. You're going to connect these systems. My first question is, where are you now with the technology? Like, what are you delivering? And who's your ideal customer? Who's your ICP?
Yeah, so our ICP, the group that's going to get the most value from this is probably going to have closer to 100 employees up to about 500, because they're the ones who are drowning in that 30% superfluous software. They're the ones who are going to be able to save money immediately by doing that audit of, here's what you're paying through QuickBooks or bill pay or whichever finance systems you're using and paying. And this is where we see overlap.
Right.
So, and this is where we can simplify that overlap. So that first ICP with the most opportunity to actually achieve fiscal value is going to be 100 to 500 people.
Okay.
That said, solopreneurs are going to have a tremendous opportunity to suddenly access their data in an enterprise way.
Definitely.
So big enterprise, they have their metrics analyzed and delivered so everyone can see them, but that's jobs of people. So solopreneurs, people with less than 100, will have ease that doesn't necessarily immediately translate to fiscal, but ease is important, and that's time and money, and time is money. So we expect to see a lot of success in the solopreneur space also. And, you know, just that like 20, 25 employees.
Definitely.
And it doesn't really make it easier. Like sometimes that scale of employees, it's not harder than 5, 10, 20.
Yeah.
That's
why product led,
yes,
like the companies that are product led. I mean, the product has to kind of sell itself, right? So, I mean, you have to be able to have somebody come in, understand your product, onboard. And I'm thinking that the cost, I mean, you don't have to get into it, but I'm thinking it's going to be cost effective in the beginning, and then you're going to grow, you know, just like Slack, right? I mean, Slack, everybody knows how to use Slack, right? And then all of a sudden they're like, yeah, you want an integration? You want to move this part? Okay, now it's an upcharge.
Yeah. And
right?
So Slack and Dropbox are really the models of product-led growth that I studied their case studies deeply to find out what they did right early and then how they expanded their businesses, because it's community-led growth and product-led growth.
Right.
And those 2 things combined can create a category creating flywheel in business that, as far as I can see, can be unmatched. So if you get that first mover and then you become the category creator and you treat your community with as much attention and love as your product, then you have an opportunity for exponential growth. And my hope is that we have this opportunity for exponential growth because it's such obvious delivery and it's so thoughtful around that ICP. What does our ICP need?
Yeah, you're definitely starting to see it. I mean, in commercials, it's like, yeah, connect into it. It's like, yeah, connect to everything. And then it'll tell you what's going on. You could cancel this subscription, right? It's like people, I think, are going to understand, right? But it's a matter of how you go to market. So I'm interested where you are with that right now. Do you have a product? I know you have a product. Do you have early customers? Do you have revenues? Like, where is that right now?
Yeah, so we are pre-revenue. We are doing a soft launch next week. So you'll see the app in the App Store with some very, very early, anyone can use it value proposition. So I'll talk about one. We intended with product-led growth to create an initial offering that every single human being on the planet can use. That's
Nice.
not business, but everybody kind of needs an identifier or a business card. So here, I'll just pick up my phone, right? So it's a virtual business card that goes directly to whatever I want it to. For me, it's LinkedIn, because that's a great place where I can understand my ecosystem of community.
Sure.
It may be directly to an app. It might be to your hair salon. It might be your phone number. You know, maybe you're good with everybody having your phone number. For me, it's stressful. Maybe it's just your email. Like, just email me and we'll set up some time. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how many people are doing trade shows. I haven't done this research, but I ran out of business cards every trade show I ever went to, and I would up my business card game every time. Truth is my information changes with enough frequency, and what I want people to focus on changes with enough frequency. It wasn't practical. And so this is a virtual business card, but you don't have to use it because you're in business as an entrepreneur who has a 100-person startup. You can use it because you are now launching a side hustle while you're working your full-time gig, and you just want people to be increased in their awareness of it. So anybody can use a QR code for something about them personally. And this is just an opportunity for people to download the app, understand the technology, run through a demo if you want to, but you don't have to. It's product-led growth. So the immediate value proposition is, hey, here's your front page phone screen QR code about whatever you want it to be about.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, it's been a great show. We've gone through so much. I got through
So
majority of the
much.
questions, but the last piece is advice,
Yeah.
right? You could probably go on for
Yeah.
hours about advice, but 2 or 3 biggest pieces of advice, Felicity, that you would give other startup founders, different entrepreneurs, that sort of thing.
I would say in this very rapidly changing technological market, give yourself as much grace as possible. If you have a side hustle, maybe keep it a side hustle a little bit longer. If you're living in mom and dad's basement, maybe continue to hang out there. You can come stay with me in my basement.
Right. Nice.
But build into your expectations right this minute as much grace as you can.
Right.
Because they say startups don't fail, founders quit. I
Right.
think that quit comes from the stressors of startup life and the
Definitely.
lack of grace, because we drive, man. Entrepreneurs are driven, but I think sometimes we forget to make a little room to breathe. And everywhere you can, fiscally, emotionally, mental health, physically, give yourself what grace you can right now. It's hugely important. And also, if you're thinking about fundraising, talk to people who have done it before or are trying to do it now and get a really good understanding of what this really unique fundraising market looks like, because I think we're still clinging to 2020.
Sure.
And that's not the market today. It's very different. We're still bootstrapping, primarily.
Nice.
Friends and family, but we're still bootstrapping this because it has shifted so much. And as multiple exit founders, fundraising should be relatively straightforward for us. We know our investors, but that does not mean the valuations are where we believe they should be.
Sure.
So know your market. If you think you need to fundraise, really understand what this looks like right now. And especially in Philly, it's a little harder there.
So Felicity, it's been amazing having you on the show. And I want I want to reiterate again, Felicity is probably one of the top entrepreneurs, tech entrepreneurs in Philly, if not the region. I mean, like, doesn't matter if it's woman or man either. It's like, I mean, you don't see multi-exit founders. So it's amazing. So it's awesome having you on the show. And I'm looking forward to continuing the journey with you.
Michael, I can't wait. I think we have, Philly Tech Week coming up. Maybe we can pop in and do a happy hour.
Absolutely. So great. Stay on for a second here. Great to have you on.